Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 3 of the Heel Turn podcast. In today's episode, I will be recapping Money in the Bank from last night, giving you my thoughts on Money in the Bank, rating it overall, and giving you things to expect going forward over the next couple months. And we are going to hop right into it. So we started off with the women's Money in the Bank match, which I did think there was a lot of good spots in the match. And I felt like the right person won, and Naomi. Naomi's been on this incredible heel run as of late, and I feel like she deserved to win Money in the Bank. I mean, you could have gave it to Rhea, you could have gave it to Alexa, could have gave it to Stephanie Vicaire or Julia, or Roxanne Perez, but I felt like Naomi deserved it, and she was the right person to win the women's Money in the Bank match. And overall, the match gets a 8.5 out of 10 for me. It was a great women's Money in the Bank match, and the right person won. Now, I think down the road, we are going to get Bianca versus Naomi versus Jade, and I think it's going to be Bianca with the title, and then Naomi and Jade are the challengers, and Naomi, if she loses, will then cash in her Money in the Bank. That's how I think it's gonna happen. So then we get to the second match of the night, Octagon Jr., which, for those of you that don't watch AAA, I think everybody needs to start watching AAA, because Octagon Jr. put on a show against Dominic Mysterio. Short match, but Octagon Jr. showed out, and we got against Dominic. And I think everybody knew that Dominic Mysterio was going to win. Obviously, and my problem with Dom, he's a great champion, and I understand he's a heel right now, but he needs to learn how to win matches on his own and not with help from the Judgment Day, which I'll get to that later. I think we're going to start to see the downfall of the Judgment Day. And this match gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Short. I liked it, but I thought maybe they could add a shocking title change. Then we get to the men's Money in the Bank match, and here's where I have problems. I thought LA Knight should have won. Oh, no. Wait, I'm wrong. We had one more match before that. We had Lyra versus Becky. Stipulation was if Lyra won, Becky couldn't challenge anymore for the title. And as you know, and if Becky won, Lyra had to raise Becky's hand. And unfortunately, Becky won, so that meant Lyra had to raise Becky's hand. But I don't think this rivalry's over. I think we get one more match, maybe at Saturday night's main event next month. And that's when we get Bayley returning. This match gets a 6 out of 10, and I'll explain why. I feel like Becky shouldn't have won. I feel like Lyra should have retained. And like Lyra said in her promo the last 2 weeks, she was done with this feud she had with Becky, and Becky's the one that wanted one more match. And that's where the stipulation came in. And again, like I said, 6 out of 10. But I feel like they're not done telling the story here. We saw Lyra attack Becky after holding up her end of the bargain. Does this mean Lyra is becoming a star right before our eyes? But my question is, and I guess we'll find out tomorrow night, does this mean Lyra's turning heel? No pun intended. The name of the podcast is the Turning Heel Podcast. But, or is this just a more serious side of Lyra? Now we get to the men's Money in the Bank match. And like I said a second ago, before I forgot about the Lyra Becky match, I feel like the wrong person won Money in the Bank. But now looking at it, this was a great match. There was some really good spots. And my favorite part of the match, we finally saw Jacob Fatu fully turn face. And yes, when I say fully turn face, I know he was kind of already in that aspect. I know he was kind of already a face. But this just fully turned a baby face. Solo was going up the ladder, and Jacob grabs his leg. And the three words we've been waiting for. I hate you. And Jacob didn't have to say Solo. The crowd helped him out. So basically, now I think we're going to get Jacob versus Solo at either Saturday night's main event or most likely SummerSlam, which I'm all here for. Solo, I have my doubts, and I'll make a whole separate video on why Solo should be nowhere near a title. He's done nothing to earn it. He's done nothing to earn being in the title picture. Now, the finish of the match was crazy. Of course, you knew Seth was going to have his henchmen come out and try to help him win the Money in the Bank. And LA Knight was this close to going up the ladder and getting the briefcase. I thought LA Knight should have won. But I understand the story they're telling here with Seth. He wants absolute power. And they felt like the safe option was giving him the briefcase. And yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I do. Because then, you know what? And I think, and I'll talk about it here, and I'll talk about it in a second. I think we're going to see Seth attempt. Overall, the match gets a 7 out of 10. It was a really good Money in the Bank match. Then we get to the main event, which the first half of the main event was sloppy. It was Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. And I mean, we kind of knew it was going to be sloppy because what does John Cena want to do? He wants to ruin wrestling. And he was doing a good job of it. And then we see toward the end of the match, we see a hooded figure come out. And you know what we've been hearing Monday night on Raw, Friday night on SmackDown, and the entire way through Money in the Bank. We want truth. And the person in the hoodie is revealed to be Ron Killings, also formerly known as R-Truth. And it seems like the way they're going with this is I kind of want them to go back to an old story they were telling back when Cena kind of first got started in WWE. If anybody knows about the Nexus, that's the kind of the story I want them to go with, but I don't think they're going to. I think And the match gets I'm going to say 5.5 out of 10. Overall, Money in the Bank gets a 8 out of 10 for me. It was good. I know there's going to be people that say, oh, it was horrible because there was a lot of empty seats. Yeah, that's because there's stuff going on in LA that I can't really get deep into context about on the podcast here. But now, what to expect? I expect we're probably going to hear from Lyra tomorrow night on Raw about why she did what she did after holding up her end of the bargain in her match with Becky. I imagine we're going to hear from Seth on who, or we're going to see Seth try to cash in Money in the Bank tomorrow night on Raw, because you got Jay versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. I think Jay's gonna win, but we're gonna see Seth try to cash in maybe midway through the match, and then we get the return of either CM Punk comes out and costs Seth the cash in, or we get Roman coming back, because we know it's inevitable that Roman's gonna come back and cost Seth the match, and we're probably going to get a War Games match between Seth's team with Seth, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and maybe they add one or two more people to make it 5-on-5, because we all know that slimy little snake Paul Heyman's not going to be in the match. But and then we're probably going to hear from maybe John Cena on what happened at the end of his match with him and Logan Paul against Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. And need I add, we're probably going to hear from Cena on SmackDown, but I expect that on SmackDown, if we hear from Cena, that he will bring up R-Truth coming back and costing him, Ron Killings, coming back and costing him the match at Money in the Bank. And I expect other storylines to start. Maybe we see somebody call out Cena for Saturday night's main event in next month in Texas. I would expect that. I would also expect to hear from Miss Money in the Bank, Naomi, on who she might try to cash in on. Like I said, my theory is Bianca's eventually going to win one of the women's world championships, and then Naomi would cash in on her, and then maybe get Jade inserted into a storyline with the two of them, and that's how we get to the triple threat match. Maybe at SummerSlam, maybe somewhere down the line. And I would expect either, like I said a minute ago, I would expect either Punk or Roman or maybe Sammy to come back and cost Seth Rollins the cash in of his Money in the Bank. And I think they set up something last week with Karrion Kross and Sammy. I think they're going to have a match Monday night. And if they do, Karrion needs to, and I will talk about Ron Killings in a minute. Just let me get through this whole Karrion Kross spiel. I think Karrion Kross needs to be on TV every week, whether it be backstage. I think Karrion Kross should have been in Money in the Bank. And I know there's going to be people that say, "Oh, you're wrong. He shouldn't have been in Money in the Bank. He has no business being in a match like that." Yes, he actually does. And I'll explain why. Karrion Kross is getting over with the fans. And what is Triple H said numerous times? If somebody's over with the fans, we're going to push them. And I mean, they're slowly doing that with Karrion Kross. And I feel like eventually we're going to see Kross get more matches on Raw. And now let me wrap up here with Ron Killings. He's back, but I think we all got worked because they said he was released earlier this week. No, last week they said he was released. I don't think he was released, actually. I think what it was it's part of a storyline. And I feel like he's back, but we don't know what his contract is. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up my recap of Money in the Bank and what I think is going to happen. I will see everybody back here tonight at 10 o'clock for another episode of the Osprey Nation podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.